we are going to be talking about the Chrome developer tools. My name is Paul Irish, and I'm on the Chrome team. We're going to talk about getting more familiar with the features that are inside of the Chrome developer tools. We're going to cover some new features that have been added in the last 6 months, and hopefully you'll have a better idea on how to work more quickly when you're developing web applications. All right, cool. The first thing that I want to point out is that the Chrome DevTools is a web app that you use to develop great web apps. But the cool thing is that the DevTools literally is a web app. So I'm going to open them up right here. And so all this stuff right down here, this is just HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. I'm bring up this DevTools, and then I'm going to inspect that DevTools with this DevTools. And then we'll go down here, and I think that one needs a bit of an upgrade. So let's say we'll take this font and liven this up a little bit. Throw some important on that. Yeah, that's pretty good. So yeah, you can inspect the inspector if you like. Kind of make it, tweak it to what you want it to be like. It totally works. But I kind of like how we can just we're using the exact same technology that we are manipulating up here, down here. All right, this is what we're going to talk about today. We're going to talk about styling and CSS, talk about dealing with network data and getting better insight into that. Then switching over into JavaScript, talk about what we can do inside of the JavaScript console, figure out ways to understand a web app by debugging it, and then kind of finish up. So I wanted to ask first, all right, so your primary browser for developing, so the one that you normally use when you're developing an app, if it's Firefox and Firebug, raise your hand. Yeah, cool. I love Firebug. I became good at this because of Firebug. Chrome, cool. Okay, so that's basically an even split. It's good. All right, so for those of you that are not too familiar with the Chrome DevTools, quickly what it is a bunch of tools to make you more effective as a web developer. See the DOM and see all the styles that associate with these elements over here. Understand the files that comprise each page and the assets that are related to it, along with all sorts of HTML5 storage options down here. Understanding the files that come in over the network and all the request and response headers associated with each file. The scripts and a full debugger to understand the runtime execution of scripts. The timeline gives you a view of network, JavaScript, and rendering layers. So those 3 different layers and kind of how they interplay. Profiles to do script profiling and memory profiling. Audits, similar to YSlow or Google PageSpeed, you can kind of run reports on your website to make sure that it's up to the quality that you want. And the console to just try JavaScript against your currently running web app. So those are the basic tools, but we're going to go into them to a little more detail. And we're going to start off with styling control. All right, cool. Now, one of the first features that I want to show to you, which is pretty cool, I'm going to open up the DevTools here on my presentation. And we're going to set a little background on this LI here. Let's see, we'll set maybe a background color of slate blue. Cool. Okay, so slate blue gives us this purpley color. It's okay. A lot of times you'll actually code things in hex. So you might be writing your colors in hex. But you notice I just click this little swatch, this color square, and I can change the format that it's displayed in. And this becomes really handy. So you might write a color in hex like this. And then what I like to do a lot is I'll switch over to HSL, so hue, saturation, and lightness. And then maybe I need to create a new color for its hover state or something. So I'll maybe turn down the saturation a little bit, maybe turn up the lightness like that. So I'm just using the arrow keys on my keyboard, and I can do that. And yeah, that's about good. And I can go back, hit it twice more, and go back to hex. And then maybe I'm going to copy that out and bring it back to my style sheet. So kind of tweak colors a little bit as you like inside here. Now, the next thing is sometimes you need to inject styles, but it needs to be, you don't have a hook for it. So a lot of times, let's say I'm changing all LIs. I can do that right here. There's already a rule for all LIs. But sometimes I'm in a case where there is no rule here to kind of augment, and I need to add a new one. So we can do that too. So for example, I want to change the style of the current slide that I'm on. And so here are our slides, these article elements. And so I'm just going to select this one. And down over here is this little plus sign. And this is the new style rule. So I can select that. And it automatically pre-fills the selector with a guess on what it thinks is going to be a good selector for the new style rule. In this case, it's current, which works for me. And now I can add a new style here. So maybe I'll add some box shadow, and we'll give it a 40 pixel blur, and we'll have it be blue. Uh-oh. Important? Ah, good. When in doubt, add important. Always works. All right, cool. So now, yes, cool. So as I change the slides, the box shadow moves with it. So that works well. Yeah. Okay, the other thing I want to show in here is now there's an ability to get insight into the pseudo selectors that you have. So this is pretty common where you write styles that are associated with the hover state, the focus state, active or visited, and it's a little tricky to see those down here, because you might want to change the hover state, tweak the colors or something like that. And so by clicking this guy right here, we kind of expose this panel, and we can just turn on which styles we want to also see down here, and then we can manipulate them. So much easier to access those kind of hidden styles. All right, moving on to some cool stuff. So that's basic style manipulation. And we do a lot of it, you know. We're oftentimes just creating new styles in here, kind of changing things up, and we make it to be how we want it to. So I'm going to make a few changes, make some improvements, really. All right, so I got some LIs. I'm going to change these LIs. Let's see. Box shadow. I really like the box shadow. Box shadow, and then we'll go 0, 0, 20 pix, black. Cool. Yeah, that looks pretty good. Need some border radius for some rounded corners, I think. 5 pixels. 13. Yeah, there we go. That's good. And it's a little tight up here, so I'm going to add a little bit of padding. I'm just going to change this rule right here, and maybe do 5. Yeah, 6 pixels. That's good. Okay, so I'm pretty happy with this. Yeah, this works for me. Now, one of the things that you can do now is I'm just going to click this link over to the style sheet. And it drops me right over to the resources tab, selecting the style sheet. But if I look down, the changes that I just made are right here, right? I just added these rules, so they're highlighted in green. I changed the padding rule, so it's modified in purple. And so the Chrome DevTools is keeping track of all my changes as I go, which is pretty cool. Now, if we look down here, you'll see there's a little arrow next to styles.css. If I click that, I can see that it's actually keeping revision history of my style sheet as I'm making my changes. So this means that I could right-click and revert back to an earlier version. So I could revert back to how it was and clear off those styles. Or I could say, you know what, I actually kind of did like those changes. I want to bring those back. So I can kind of go back and forth, tweak it as I go, make my changes, add new ones over here. And once I'm satisfied with kind of how things are, this works for me. I can right-click and just hit Save As, and just save those brand new files back to my hard disk, overwriting my old file. So this means that I can make my changes in here and just tweak it as I go, never having to refresh the page, just kind of making the changes that I want to see and seeing them immediately. Now that's pretty cool, but I can also do a little bit better. Inside the Resources tab here, if you just double click in this, any area really, it immediately becomes a free-form editor. So I can just treat this like a normal text editor. I can wipe out this margin and add any new style rules. So let's see, I'm going to add li last child, background red. Cool, yeah. So free-form style editor, so really less of a reason to go back to my text editor. And one more thing that I wanted to show over here was that there's now the ability to drag and drop elements. So if you just select an element like here, I can just drag it up and move it around. It's really cool. Saves a lot of time when you're just prototyping things and getting a feel for how things go. Cool. All right, let's clear this out. Good. All right, moving on towards the network. There's two things that I wanted to show. First is the timeline. I think the timeline is extremely powerful. All right, so I'm going to open up DevTools and the timeline. We're going to go over to news.google.com. And as that loads, I'm going to hit the record key down here. And you'll see it's starting to come in with some data. There we go. Good. Now, the cool thing here is that I get a view of what is happening at 3 different layers in the app. There we go. I wanted this one. So there's a lot of stuff coming in. The blue is network, the yellow is JavaScript, and the purple is rendering layer. So I'm just going to zoom in on this area by selecting this. And then I can kind of see what's happening. So we just received some data. Some scripts came in. We evaluated that script. Then DOM content loaded event fired. I had a Chrome extension that came in, did some things. Garbage collection happened. And this point, there was a layout, which is when all your style sheet is evaluated and determine how we now relay out the page. And then there's a paint. And the paint is just all the pixels get thrown onto the screen, right? And the cool thing about the paints is that they tell you what their size is. So this paint was took up a big area, 1,000 pixels wide by 346 pixels tall. And you can also hover over it and see the area that was painted. In this case, it was my entire page. Maybe there's another case where paint, layout, paint. Ooh, yeah, okay, cool. So this was a smaller paint. It was just accessing that column. But the cool thing here is that we're seeing the network data come in, we're seeing JavaScript run, and we're immediately seeing what happens when the browser spits that out to the screen. So we get a really good feel of how the browser is interpreting our JavaScript, our CSS, and what that actually means in the runtime performance of the browser. So I really like the amount of detail that we get there. The other thing that I wanted to show is there's now a settings panel inside the developer tools. So down here in the bottom right is this little cog icon, this gear. Click that, and it brings up this settings panel. And there's a few options, a few preferences that you can set. And one of the better ones is this. You can disable cache. And this is really helpful because Chrome is all about speed. And it gets a lot of that speed from caching and very clever caching. But a lot of times we as web developers aren't interested in caching. We just want to make sure that we're always getting the latest file from the browser, from the server even, and there's no extra caching going on. So by checking this, we just say, I don't care if there's expires headers, if there's e tags, if there's a last modified header. I just want the latest file regardless. And so you can disable the cache that way. All right, move on towards JavaScript. I like JavaScript. All right, so going to my console. So you're probably familiar with the good old console.log. But there's a little bit more than just throwing out a message on console log. It does accept multiple arguments, and those arguments can be kind of anything. I just wanted to point this out. So document and document.body. Yeah, cool. All right, so you can log out multiple things instead of doing separate lines. But in addition to that, there's a lot of things that are available to you here in the console that are really helpful. And so it's called the command line API, and it's documented over here on the Firebug wiki. So Firebug introduced a lot of these methods, and they've since been, most of them are supported in the Chrome developer tools, in Opera Dragonfly, in the IE F12 dev tools, that's what it's called. And so I'm going to show a few of these that I really like. First one is dir. So sometimes you'll log a element like this. And it looks like this, and you kind of get the tree view here. Understand what's going on. It's just a representation of the DOM element. But if I do this as dir, I actually get to see its representation as a true DOM node. So I get to see its attributes map, and I get to see all the attributes that are associated with it as an element, rather than the visual view of it in the DOM. So that is really helpful to me sometimes. Other times, you have a reference to an element over here in the console, and you actually want to see it in the Elements tab. And so one thing that I can do is use the inspect function. And we just immediately jump over to the Elements tab with that one selected, and then we're good. Alternatively, you might have an element selected over here, and you actually want to access it via script. Now, I'm going to bring up the console right here, and I can do that by hitting escape. Escape actually works on any of these tabs to open and collapse the console. So I want to access this element that I have selected up here in my console, and I can actually just type $0, and $0 just reflects whatever is selected up here. And the cool thing is that it just works as a regular JavaScript reference. So I could do something like $0.outer.html and get the outer HTML of whatever is selected up here. So sometimes you also get a string that comes back to you in the console, and you might want to copy that string and do something with it. So you could try and do something like this. There we go. And I could copy that. But you could save a little bit of time and instead use the copy method, right? So just say copy, and you just pass it a string, and it just takes whatever that was and copies it to your clipboard. So then I can just take this and go over to my text editor and paste that wherever I want to go. So I'm going to show kind of how we can combine these things. I'm going to open up Flickr here. And we're just going to kind of borrow an image. Maybe I'm too cheap to afford hosting. Maybe I just want to get the permalink to that actual file. I'm going to check out this postcard, I guess. OK, cool. All right, so I actually want to get this JPEG. I want to get a reference to this JPEG. So let's see. I'll try right-clicking on it. Whoa. One second, it's still loading. Yeah. OK, so there's no copy image URL, and then there's this guy. All right, let's open up the DevTools. I'm going to select this image. OK, so apparently this is a UL right here. I want to find the image. Photo div. This looks good. OK, cool. Yeah, this looks good. So here we have the image. I think this is it. I'm going to open up the console. $0.source. Yeah, that looks right. And so now I can just do copy $0.source and send this to a friend, host it. Yeah, get the JPEG directly. So we really like this. This works very well on Facebook. It works on Flickr. Just kind of get that image without anything around it. Save some time. All right, cool. Now we're going to move on to some JavaScript. Some good stuff here. All right. So I'm going to use this web app here. And we're going to kind of get an idea of how it works. And I didn't write this web app, but I have an interest in figuring out how it works, because I need to add a feature to it, I think. So this web app is basically a view of, let me turn off my Wi-Fi. Try this again. This web app is a view of all the Google developers on our team. And we can kind of see them. Yes. There we go. Cool. OK. All right. So we have the Google developers, and we can kind of filter them. So I can check out just the Chrome ones. And this is going to get some new data. It's going to come back. It's going to replace the current developers that I have on here. Sometime. It's cool. Yes. All right. All right. So it's getting new data. It's putting it in there. But I'm not really sure exactly how that happens. So I have a few tools at my disposal to kind of dig into this. So the first is, let's see. I'm going to look at the DOM here. And OK. OK. Yep. So it looks like each person is a table row, all right? And it's all held inside table gallery, and div sidebars above it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use a DOM breakpoint. And it's this right here. So I'm just right-clicking this element, and I'm going to say break on subtree modifications. And what this means is anytime any DOM nodes underneath it change, pretend like I added a breakpoint. So we're just going to do that. Now I'm going to change my view up here. And OK, cool. All right, so now we're over in the scripts panel, and we just broke. This over here is telling me we are paused on a subtree modified breakpoint because its descendant was removed. All right, so it looks like we div document get element by ID sidebar. OK, so we just grabbed that sidebar. And we're doing inner HTML. OK, so we're setting that sidebar with brand new HTML. And it looks like we scroll up a little bit. We're just creating a bunch of strings. It's kind of templating. Yep. OK, yeah, we're iterating over a bunch of data and creating a little template. And it starts off with a function called show gallery, which gets some JSON data back, apparently. OK? So now I get an idea of how this information goes into the DOM. But I'm interested in looking at it a different way. So instead of seeing how it kind of ends and goes into the DOM, I want to see how it starts. And I have an idea, which is that this up here, this little drop down, probably starts things. So what I can use is an event listener breakpoint. And I can say, whenever a certain event fires, I want to add a breakpoint. So they're available down here. And there's a lot of different kinds. So timer means whenever a set interval or set timeout was created or fires, I can add a breakpoint. I could add when the window resizes or the key up or key down. So this is actually, it's not whenever that event fires. It's whenever there's an event listener that's bound to that event. That is when we'll have a breakpoint. So in my case, I'm interested in when this changes, right? It's probably a change event. So I'm going to go to Control and select Change. Cool. Now we'll try changing it. OK, cool. All right. Looks like we're in the HTML because there's an inline event handler. Not the hottest code. Not so good. But it's OK. We can work with this. So we have an onChange, right? We say get JSON false. And so I'd actually like to dig into this a little bit. So I'm going to dive in. I'm going to hit this just a few times. And then we'll Cool, okay. Now we're inside get.json. Let's see what it's doing. Starts off, we have, looks like an API key here. We're getting the values of the drop-downs of those form controls. And then create a script element. Looks like we're going to get data out of Google Spreadsheets. And we're going to use JSONP. And there's a callback. Yeah, OK, show gallery. So show gallery, which is this function, which we were looking at before, is going to be our callback. So we're going to go ask Google Spreadsheets. It's going to return back the payload. And we're going to call show gallery with that. OK, we add that into the DOM, and we're good to go. All right, so now I got a good idea of how the script ends and how it begins. And now I think we need to add a little bit of features to it. So let's see. The first thing that I'm going to do is I want to just understand what that data looks like when it comes back. So I'm going to show gallery down here. And one of the unique features that we have in the Chrome developer tools is that we can edit scripts on the fly, live, without refreshing. So just like I did with styles, I'm going to double click in this area and just add something. So first I'm just going to say, let's log out the data to the console. And so we'll say the JSON and JSON. So this is going to refer to the data that just came in here. And I hit Command S to save that. And now let me bring up the console. Now when I change my view, cool. OK, so the data comes back, and that logs to the console. And so now I can see what's inside this object. Now, that's all right, and login is good. But like I said, I want to add a feature. So I'm going to double click again. And we're going to add something good. So let's see. I want to do if feed dot entry 0. I'm going to steal a little bit from down here. Last name equals Irish. Whoops. Then we're going to do something nice. I'll spice up the page a little bit. Document.body.style.background equals color. Really good color. Let's see. How about, yeah, really badass color. I like that. All right, cool. All right, I feel good about this. This is line 137. Yeah, OK, cool. So when the data comes back, we're going to check to see the first entry. And if that first entry has the last name of Irish, then we're going to make the page a little bit better. All right, cool. So let's try this out. First, I'm going to search for my buddy Eric. Good, no changes. Now let's search for me. Oh, Paul Karf, that's not me. Ah, there we go. Yes, definite improvement. All right, cool. So I've just understood how this web app works, how it adds stuff into the DOM, how it kind of kicks things off from the other side. Then I've added a feature, and I have not refreshed the page at all. So this is really exciting. Let's say I like these changes, which I do. I think they're really good. I can go over to the Resources tab, and just like we saw with the style sheet, we have revision history on this file. So if I like where this went, I can just save this to disk and use this going forward. So I'm really excited about this because combining this live editing of JavaScript with the live editing of CSS, it means that it really makes a new developer workflow. The way that we used to do this, of course, is that we see a problem or we decide we want to change something. We go into our text editor, make a change, upload that file to the server, refresh the page, get back to that point where we wanted to be in our web app, and then see if that actually worked. And now we can just do it all on the fly, make the changes, make it to be how we want it, and then save that back to disk. So it's really exciting that we save a lot of time now with these new features. All right. The other feature that's pretty new that I'm really excited about is we now have script pretty printing. So if you do work in production, you probably deal with minified JavaScript quite a bit. And minified JavaScript is a pain if there's a problem, and you need to understand how it works. So now you can just hit this button right here, this little curly braces, wonderful, wonderful button. You click that, and then it immediately just pre-prints your JavaScript, full formatting, looks great, and then you can even set breakpoints all along it, and the breakpoints work like you'd want. Even if you refresh the page, it's still pretty printed, so you can work with it much, much better. All right, cool. Now, one of the last things that I wanted to show you was remote debugging, because this is a pretty new feature, and I'm really excited about it. I think the best way to tell you about it is just to show it. So let's see, what I'm going to do is, yeah. What I didn't show you already was that when I started Chrome, I did it from the command line. And I did it because I needed to run it with a command line flag, this one in particular. So here over at my terminal, you can see where I ran it. So here I just called up Google Chrome, and I said I wanted to use remote debugging port 1337. Now, what that means is that I can access the Chrome developer tools from another browser. So let's see, I'm going to open up WebKit, basically a nightly version of Safari. And then we're going to go to localhost 1337. Cool. All right. So here inside WebKit, we have 3 items. And these 3 items refer to the 3 tabs that I have open up there. And remember before when I started, when I said that the Chrome Developer Tools is just a web app? Well, here it is, running inside a nightly version of Safari. Oops. And I mean, I'm just viewing it in a browser, and this is the web app. And the cool thing is that this works exactly like my normal dev tools. So Chrome is over here, Safari is over here, and yet I'm kind of like poking through the DOM, and it all still works, right? Totally cool. Yeah, so the great thing here is that I have all the same features, all the same access, but I'm accessing it from a different place. Now, it's cool and clever that I can access Chrome from Safari, but what this really is all about is in the mobile space, this becomes really powerful. So the BlackBerry Playbook, the tablet today, already has this functionality. If you have a BlackBerry Playbook, you can just turn it on, and then from your desktop machine, you can just remote into the dev tools of your tablet and understand what's happening at a network layer. You can debug scripts on it, profile it, get a lot of insight into how the web app runs on that device, but do it from your own machine. What I'm also excited about is that all this work has been done at the WebKit level. So our Chrome Developer Tools team commits basically 95% of the code, not to Chrome, but to WebKit. So all WebKit ports have access to this. So I'm really excited that all the mobile WebKit ports will probably be seeing this landing and this available soon in upcoming releases. Right now it's just BlackBerry Playbook, but I hope to see more soon. All right. If any of you guys create Chrome extensions, there's a few extension APIs that allow you to kind of change things inside the Chrome Developer Tools. Essentially, you can add new tabs up here, or you can also add brand new panels inside this area. You can add new audits, and this is really good if you have some coding standards or some guidelines for your team and you want to make sure that everyone abides by those standards. You can create your own rules and run those against your page. You can also get access to the resources and network information in a standardized format. Most of the features that I showed you today are available in the stable release of Chrome. But a lot of times, some of the best features are brand new, and I get really excited about using them. And the best way to explore those is to use either the Chrome Developer Channel or Chrome Canary. So there's 3 main versions of, well, there's 4 versions of Chrome. Chrome Stable, which is the regular one that everyone gets. Chrome Beta, that updates every 2 weeks. Stable updates every 6 weeks. Dev channel updates every 1 week, and Canary about once a day. So you're getting the brand new code within hours of when the Google engineers committed it. There's no QA, so it might be buggy, but it's really exciting. And so Canary can actually run side by side with another version of Chrome. So I like to recommend running a stable version of Chrome and then Canary, and you can kind of use both the cool tools and see what all your users see. If you have any ideas, any feature requests for the developer tools, I'd really love to hear them. Also, if you find any bugs, I'm interested in those too. You can file those at new.crbug.com. And if you file, just ping me on Google Plus or Twitter and let me know, and I'll triage them and make sure that the right people see them. Another tip is that inside the dev tools, there's a lot of keyboard shortcuts. For instance, I'm using Command Option I right here to open and close this. I'm hitting Command square bracket to toggle between all these tabs. But there's a lot more. You can just hit the question mark inside the dev tools, and it pops up a listing of some of the keyboard shortcuts. Get a reminder there. But we have a documentation site, too, that has a lot more documentation, not only on all the keyboard shortcuts, which there are many of, but also of all the functionality, the features that I showed you today, and a lot more. One of my favorite new features that I didn't get a chance to show you is our new heap profiling. So this is really good if you are tracking down memory leaks in your application. You can now get an understanding of how memory is allocated and how it's tracked throughout the course of your application. So there's a lot more stuff in here, videos and documentation. Encourage you to check that out. And also some of the features that I showed today are available on a one-page cheat sheet where you can just, let's see if this is ready, nope. Where you can just download a PDF, print it out, and get a reminder on how to use some of these features really easily. So that's available there. Other than that, thank you guys very much for listening. Appreciate it. These slides are available here, but if anyone has any questions, I'd really love to answer them. Sir, standing up. Good question. The question is, how can you add a breakpoint to the document ready event, also known as DOM content loaded? That's a good question. Let's see. Let's try it out. OK, so that event is, oh, it's there. Oh, that's awesome. OK, cool. Well, there it is. I was actually going to do it completely differently. So if it wasn't there, what I would do is, not in the console, but in my JavaScript, I would do something like this, where I would do document.add event listener, DOM content loaded, function, and false. And then inside that function, I would use the debugger command. And so debugger just says breakpoint. It's essentially that you put a breakpoint on that line. And so I would just put this in my script, refresh the page, and then that would stop, and I'd get to see. So you could do it either way, but yeah, that's a trick. Sir, yes?
Yes, thank you. I do a lot of work with Flash and Flex. I need something in my Firebug or dev tools that can watch the Flash traces while I'm actually using the application. I also typically have lots of tabs open, which means I like to have multiple rows of them. Are there any such plugins for Chrome?
Yeah, Yeah, I have used the Flash Tracer plugin in Firefox before, but I haven't, since I've been primarily developing on Chrome, I haven't done any Flash work, so I don't know. Does anyone else have any recommendations for extensions for Flash development in Chrome? Bummer. Okay, so I don't know. Yeah, I don't know the best way to do it.
That might be a good suggestion.
But yeah, it's a great suggestion. I'll definitely mention that to the team. Any other questions? Cool. You had an announcement that you wanted to make? Sounds good.
Bueno, mi nombre es Juan Irungaray, yo soy el manager del GTAC Buenos Aires. Para los que no nos conocen, los GTAC somos los Google Technology User Groups. Estamos acá en el fondo del pasillo, tenemos un lounge, estamos buscando gente interesada en tecnologías como las que estuvieron viendo ayer y hoy. Somos un grupo de voluntarios buscando gente con pasión por la tecnología, así que cualquier persona que esté interesada me puede buscar a mí, Juan Irungaray, o a cualquiera de las personas que tenga la remera de GTAC, la remera blanca que dice GTAC. Si quieren saber más, pregúntenme. Estamos muy ansiosos por conocerlos, así que por favor dense una vuelta por el fondo cuando puedan. Gracias.
Cool. All right. Thank you guys. I'll be here if you want to ask any more questions, but thank you guys for coming.